Rafael Rivera, everybody. Come on, let's do it a big round of applause. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for being here. This is an incredible honor to have you. I have to say, I will preface this with the fact that I am not only a monorail, but I am also a fan. There you go.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Carlos and his work ever since being addicted to the trades and reading all these things that they flash in front of you every morning in your inbox. I saw there was an interview, a video interview about lessons in chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, who is this person? And then I did what you call in Spanish to psicopatear someone. So like I looked on the internet. I'm like, where's he from? Where did he study? What does he do besides listen? And then I found out you had gone to FIU.
Miami-Dade and FIU.
And Miami-Dade. And that you taught at Frost. And I was like, how lucky are we?
No.
So that's how I found you. And then you helped me to find the composer for my first feature. So amazing, right, guys?
I'm so glad. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for the privilege, Isabel, and nice to be here. So thank you.
Well, first of all, I guess through what we really want to do is provide for all of you watching this today and those who will watch it in the future to really look chronologically at your work, the major pieces of your work, because we can't get through everything.
Sure.
But even before that starts, I guess my question to you would be, the part that we don't really see on IMDb, which is the part from, I guess, FIU or Miami-Dade.
The heartache.
The hard part, right? The heartache to get to, your first, to Godless, for example, or Walk on the Tombstones.
Yeah.
How did you get there from A to Z?
It's all the letters in between. It really is sort of like to keep it short, I was going to study accounting in Miami-Dade. I graduated from Belen, and my dad was like, hey, my dad is an immigrant, came from Cuba, worked his way up, fantastic, owns an insurance agency. He passed away a few years ago. My brother's taken it over. It's called Best Class Insurance in Hialeah. So if you're local and you want to get some insurance, Best Class Insurance, okay? And But my dad was like, man, you should be an accountant because it's really tough. And I said, Dad, I want to do music, because I was in a rock band in high school, and with my brother actually. And we were doing covers, and we started writing original songs, and we started playing all the dances, all the proms that were here. We would play at the Big Five. I don't know if anybody knows at Big Five.
Big
Five, the club, the Big Five club, and we would play at all the Lourdes, all the private schools proms. We were like the band they would hire. This is like the 80s, so you guys, half of you were like -20, but the truth is, like, we would do all this stuff, and I kept thinking, well, maybe music. But then I went to college, and it was like I had a few friends that started studying accounting, so I started studying business in my associate's degree. That was the idea that I got, and I did that at Miami-Dade. But while at Miami-Dade, I took a class in music appreciation. And it was with Jay Brown. He was a teacher, and he was like a very unique character. He played the musical glasses. Like, he was like this really interesting character and very crazy and funny. And he was like, you looked forward. It's the kind of class you wanted to show up to just because you just wanted to be there, as opposed to like, oh, it's another class. And he would play everything, all kinds of weird things. And one of the things he played was A Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky. And he played the piece, and he was playing a recording, but he was also walking around with the score, with just music, the score by Dover, these editions. And he was walking around as he's going down, there's this massive moment in The Rite of Spring that goes like this massive, in the middle of the cacophony. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm having like an existential thing going on, and listening to this piece, I never really heard it or noticed it, but I hadn't really heard it. And then he's walking by, and then he points at that sound. And I see there's like two notes in his trombones that basically are doing ba. But I saw them on the staff paper, and I was like, wait, somebody like a human being made this. And it was this weird, dumb realization that like a person could draw those notes, and then like another person could play them. And it was this weird, like, I put these things together, and I thought, this is possible. It was this weird moment of like, it was existential. It was like the deepest moment, and it was a calling. It was the calling, because I had been in bands, I've been doing this, and I was like, maybe I could do this composition thing. Then I realized you had to die in order to have your music played, but that was later. So the short of it is that I kind of started getting into music. I started studying music. I started taking private lessons at Miami-Dade with Sandy Poltrak in jazz and Carlos Molina in classical guitar, because I didn't know there was no rock guitar, and I played rock guitar. There was no popular music program. Now there are. There's at the Frost School. There's one at Miami, at USC, all over the United States. But back then, that was like, oof, no, man. It's jazz or classical. Make, your choice. God, it's getting long, so I'll keep it short.
No. So you chose jazz? No.
I didn't. I chose classical.
Oh.
And only because I saw a movie called The Deer Hunter. For anybody who knows this amazing film, I watched The Deer Hunter, and at the end of the movie, this whole movie, it has this incredible piece of guitar music that's incredible. And it's like moving as Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep. But then at the end, this piece is playing, and I see guitar by John Williams. And I'm like, not only did he do Jaws, did he do Star Wars, but he also plays guitar incredibly. I was wrong. There's another John Williams who's like an amazing classical guitar player. But I was like, he can't, how goat can he be, And so basically I fell into classical guitar, and that was kind of like the path. And then I went to FIU to study classical guitar. And then I started taking composition, and I finished my degree with classical guitar and composition. Then I went to USC in Los Angeles to study composition like classical, not film, not any of this. Because I just didn't, I was just got into class because of Rite of Spring. You were on that track. I was going to be that guy. I had a goatee, and I was working on the British accent, which never came because I'm half Cuban. And then, but I wanted to be that guy, that composer, walked around with my portfolio of scores. But then I got in a rock band there, and that was like the best thing that happened to me.
Did you know that Marquitas plantain chips?
Se llaman mariquitas.
I'm sorry, I was told they were pronounced Marquitas.
Mariquitas are making right here in Miami.
And now Marquitas chips have a new avocado oil and sea salt line. Muy rico.
We got signed, we got dropped, and then I went and made a decision to only make money making music, because when we got dropped, I started doing all kinds of odd jobs. I started building websites. I'm like 33, and like life hadn't worked out. Like it was like over. And I was like, well, this dream died, because I was like doing the rock band thing. And I started driving gear for bands. There was a band called Train in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah, Train.
Yeah,
the Drops of Jupiter band?
Drops of Jupiter band. I went and drove to the airport in LAX with my wife, and who I don't know why she hasn't left me yet, but anyway, she went with me to pick up the gear, and then we kind of drove it all the way down to San Diego for a private gig that Train was doing. I mean, I was doing all kinds of odd jobs, And then I said, you know what, let me just, teach. Teaching was my way to stay connected with music. So I actually trained how to teach Suzuki guitar. Suzuki guitar is is a method of teaching children, very young children, how to play guitar. And so I went up and did training, came back, and I started teaching privately as well. I mean, as a musician, you have 4 or 5 jobs. We're called like portfolio musicians, right? It's like, because it's like all diversified. You have private lessons, you teach at a college, you teach at a second college, whatever it is. But my goal was, I'm just gonna make money making music. I don't care what it is, because that's if this dream thing that I have isn't gonna work out, I'm just gonna be happy, because at least I'm connected to the thing that gave me that feeling in Miami-Dade College with that, that was like it. And I was happy, and I was going to die happy because I was doing that. Along the line, the private lessons, one of my students, I'd put an ad in Pasadena, at the Pasadena, some store. I get an email from a guy called Scott Frank. And it says, hey, I'm interested in lessons. So it's one of my private students that I had. I had several. along with the other jobs.
But what's interesting is that timeout. You guys don't know maybe that Scott Frank is a brilliant producer and writer
and director.
And
now.
director. He's all the things, and he's brilliant. But was he that at the time, or he was sort of at the beginning?
But he wasn't a director yet.
Right.
So what happened is I go to my first lesson, and I pull up. It's in Pasadena. It's an office building, and I walk in, and I see these posters, and I see Minority Report, and I see Dead Again, and Get Shorty, and I'm like, wait, what do you do? He goes, I'm a writer. And I go, you wrote those? And he goes, yeah. And I go, oh my God. And I got like all like nervous, when and I go, well, let's start, doing lessons. And it was like, he was like my Hollywood vicarious friend, that person that is doing all these crazy things, but you won't, because you'll never do it, and so he was the guy I just loved having class with him. But I wasn't thinking he's my ticket. I was never thinking that would happen, because at the time he was a writer.
Right.
So he was just a writer. And then 3 years into our lessons, he starts to say, I'm going to make my first movie. It's called The Lookout. And when I want to work with James Newton Howard, I was like, oh my God, James Newton Howard's amazing. He did Signs, and he's done all these movies, and he played keyboard for Elton John when he went on tour. Like all this nerdy stuff, because like super nerd. And then and I said, well, I'm going to help you learn how to talk to composers, because most directors don't know how to talk to composers. You know what I mean? Like, because I, at the time, thought that composition was this like high art that came down from the mountain of awesome and presented music to the film. I didn't realize that we come down from the cave and say please, and they say yes, no. And that's the reality, right? We kind of present, please, will this work? No, and they kick us, And that's I swear to you, that's kind of like what reality is mostly like. But at the time, I was like, nobody understands us on our art and our... Anyway, but he goes and he goes away, makes the movie, comes back. So like a year later, we resume lessons, and it was just great. And I'm like, oh, how'd it go? He's like, oh, it's good and stuff, But I'm thinking of doing something else. And because at the time I was at USC getting my doctoral degree. To finish my degree in academia.
Doctor of Music.
Yeah. Believe me, no, trust me, no scalpels, please. And then basically he ends up. He starts making a movie, and he goes, I'm going to make this movie, this monkey movie I'm working on, but I'm not going to need, you're not going to get it, but maybe you can help me write it. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I'm writing the screenplay. I could send you scenes of the screenplay, and you can maybe write music that'll help me write more. And I go, dude, that'd be awesome. He goes, yeah, like I said, you're not going to do it. It's like maybe
like you're not getting hired.
You're not going to get hired, dude. You're Carlos, whatever, And then, but you're not. But at least you get an experience. You get dude, that'd be so cool. Oh my God, that'd be awesome, And I started doing this is for a movie that kind of went away for him. But at the time, it was like this monkey movie that became the Planet of the Apes and all these things. Oh. And at the time, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And so I start writing this music, and we got this whole thing that's born out of this thing called the script movie is born there. I grabbed iMovie and I grabbed a scene and I put the words in a video.
And put music to the script.
Music to the words.
Which is so cool.
And I started sending it to him, and he's like, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, thanks, man. It's like, but I'm not thinking anything's going to happen. Plus, because of politics, and this happens a lot, movie's going to happen, then it doesn't happen. And that is one of the things that happened with Scott. At the time, I get a chance to move here. I teach at the Frost School. My wife has a killer job, which helped a lot. And we have 2 kids. It was like our family's here from Miami. So it was like it was meant to be. So I go, well, there goes that dream, right? And I go, well, that's great. And we just stay in touch. 2 years later, I'm like on IMDb, whatever, looking around because I'm just a fan of film. And I see he's going to do a movie with Liam Neeson.
Oh, right.
I'm finally getting to that. That took forever.
Children.
That was not short. But yeah, so he's going to do this movie with Liam Neeson. I read it and I go, and I send him an email and I say, is this going to happen? Because if it's going to happen, there's no way I'm not going to be involved. Even if I write the music and you get replaced, you replace me with a professional. Like I wrote that in the email because I didn't know what I was doing.
Very humble.
No, very real. And he said, he goes, let me send you the script. He sends me the script. I start writing music to the script, and I do one of those scenes things that I did on iMovie. You can read it. And then he goes, and he shows it to the producers, and they said, this is pretty good. Maybe we can have them. Plus, I was cheap. I mean, super cheap. And in independent films, which when you hear independent film that's not studio, there's when you see produced by, you see a ton of, executive producers.
Yeah, sometimes you just hand those out. Like,
you got to give them because they're paying
Yeah.
for the catering or they're paying for the whatever. That's the kind of thing. Anyway, I'll be quiet.
So, but what's great is that now you don't have to talk because you already did, and you recorded you talking. I know. Just close your ears. It's fine.
So the story begins with a very important and traumatic scene for Matt Scudder, our main character. Scott and I were looking for an iconic, uncomfortable sound to underscore it, since it will keep getting alluded to throughout the film. So I came up with these 4 notes. At first they're jarring, especially on something as percussive as piano. But if you have them slowly, almost gratingly drawn out on strings, we got ourselves a motif. Now, those chords, colored by a choir singing in unison, lead to the presentation of the main theme. I looked for something malleable, haunting, dreadful.
Yeah. So you did the script to screen with him for that movie, the musical script, or what?
Yeah, I did it for that movie, and it was different from what you hear. The real messy thing is that I wrote something to the script that he sent me, and he was so inspired by it. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot the opening to your music." I go, "Oh," and he sends me what he shot. And I see it, and I'm like, "This is incredible." I'm like with my wife. I'm like, "This is," and I start crying. I was like, "Oh my God!" This is blah, blah, blah. And then we start making the movie. And this is the truth about movies: the thing you envision is seldom the thing that happens. And so the script got made, the movie gets assembled, and the story doesn't play timing-wise. It's just different from what it felt like. The tone. The tone is the key word, I think, in most of these things. It was different. So all of a sudden, the music had to change. And so instead of this kind of music, we go, we need to do more of a rock thing. And that opening I shot, we're not going to use it. I go, "Oh," it's like a lot of crying, I think, is part of the thing. But it's like, I was just like, "Oh, it's such a bummer." And then, but yeah, whatever we need, because I'm trying to survive my first movie. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And so we start making the movie. I start scoring the movie, and now it's a rock movie. It's like rock guitar, not what you heard, a different score altogether. Trying to make this middle-aged Liam Neeson be cool, right? It's another thing. Visually, you have to, and so you're compensating. We were kind of doing this sort of very muscular score. Then that gets done. I fly back to Miami because I was going to New York a lot. And then I fly back to Miami, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. Everybody's happy. And I get a call from Scott like a week later. We're going to have to change this. We're going to have to re-edit the score. We're going to change the editor on the movie. And we're going to bring back that opening. And I go, "Dude, that's so awesome. Really? We're going to bring back the opening?" He goes, "Yeah, but I need different music for it." And I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, it's got to be different music. I go, "But you shot this because of what I wrote." And he goes, "Yeah, no, listen, I'm cutting out 2 actors for my movie. I'm doing this edit, you're going to have to redo the whole thing, and we need it in 2 days." I go, "You got it." Oh my God. And it's like the worst 2 days of my life. It was literally like 48 hours of no sleep. I don't know what I'm doing. I call the agent that I'd gotten for a totally random reason by miracle. I call him and I go, hey, it looks like they fired the editor. And he goes, oh, yeah, no, it's not looking good, Carlos. Just so you know, this happens when they're redoing things if things don't test well, because I think the movie hadn't tested well.
Okay.
So like there's like going to be a potential for, you to be let go. But don't take it personal. This is just, I go, but this is the only thing. I mean, there's nothing else, like, And he goes, no, it's all good, man. I go, okay, great. And then I spend the 2 days. I write this new theme, which is what you hear.
Okay.
That music isn't nothing to do with the story. It's the dread I was going through. I was dying. I'm not kidding. I was literally dying. It's like, when you have that dread, and this doesn't go away, by the way. It doesn't like you graduate from this. So if you're starting, know that it's a perennial, and you have to understand how to kind of accept that as your reality and reframe.
Well, we're all on tenterhooks, right? As
Yes.
creatives all the time. Because no one knows anything, quote unquote, right?
Nobody does. Right. Nobody knows anything. And there's a high level of insecurity that's managing and fear of an investment by different people. And the director is actually answering to higher ups. You always think the director, but the director is answering to so you almost have to understand where your position is in this. But yeah, no, it's like dread is a weird thing. It feels like a tendril that goes from somewhere here, like your heart maybe down to your navel. And sometimes you wake up when you're in it and it just feels like someone's pulling upward. And it's a physical pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a real physical pain. It's not just like, oh, just get over it. No, dude, I'm trying to get through this. Anyway, so I send this thing over and he goes, which is that? He goes, I like it, man. I'm like, oh my God, I got to send it to the producers. I was like, oh no. And because this is how it is. It doesn't end. The approval process is a real thing. And then calls me back and I'm like calling my wife. I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get called back. I don't know. He goes, they like it too. We need a redo of the score like in a month. You can do it? I go, you got it. And I had to finish it in 30 days, a whole new version of the score. And that was it. And it was just this trial by fire, really. And it's something that you realized, okay, now that I did that, I can do anything. Godless was harder.
Really?
Yeah. So
this is exciting because, so Tombstones was a feature film,
yes,
correct?
Yes.
And Godless was a TV series.
It's the first limited series Netflix ever did.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's history I didn't know about.
No, it was a miracle.
It was a miracle. Wait, why was it a miracle?
Because it worked.
Oh.
You never know. You never know it's going to work. I mean, I can never speak from that position. I'm like lucky to work at all. And after that movie, I got no work. Like there was like, oh, there's going to be no, Bambi's going to be waiting. Oh yeah, as a movie is Liam Neeson, Taken guy. I mean, nothing. And then the only person who hired me was Scott Frank, again, which is how it works. And I was like, well, and by that time my teaching career was already doing well, which is what I wanted to do anyway. So this has always been kind of like a windfall or something, like a gift on top. Yeah. And I was like, I get to do this. It's sort of like the attitude that's helped.
So this is another tidbit. Now they're all short videos, so
sure.
You won't suffer through it too much.
My name is Carlos Rafael Rivera, and I scored the music for Godless. Growing up as a kid in Central America, I was always fascinated by American film and television. Especially the hummable melodies from movies like Star Wars were something that I would always have and carry with me. So when it came time to writing a theme for Godless, we really tried to find a hummable melody, something that we could take home and that could encapsulate the story itself. What's cool about music is that it's an intangible aid to the director's vision. If there is a complete trust between director and composer, I feel bolder choices can be made, and it'll actually help complete the immersion of the audience in the story. This being my second collaboration with Scott Frank, we found an unusual approach in which he'll send me the screenplay early on in pre-production, and I will start scoring the written word, not picture. We call these script movies. because I make a QuickTime of the screenplay and actually start scoring it. What's really cool about that is that you get to collaborate before picture. And so you're being part of the storytelling early on. What I loved about working on Godless, and generally as a composer, is that I was able to write music that could be both intimate when it needed to be, but grow as large as the visuals and the landscapes that were shot.
Yay.
And then that happened.
Yeah,
that happened.
That was crazy, yeah.
So tell me about that experience, because was it very unexpected?
Yeah, I mean, I went to this this meet and greet that I was told to. So there's a whole other world that happens when I was teaching the popular music program at the time at the Frost School, and basically it's songwriting and for artists or like people that want to be artists and performers, and that sort of thinking I realized applies to everything in this industry or in an industry where you're selling, and it's a business. It's the music business, right? It's not the music art. It's the music business. It's the industry, entertainment industry, and students would be like I was also when I was in the band, is like, we're gonna make a record, and then we make a record. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we wrote that song. That was hard work. That was crazy. Oh, we got to record it. It's so exciting. It's amazing. And then we finish and we're like, now it's done. And no one knows about it. And there's this other aspect to it that you have to actually understand, that you kind of learn to understand, that that the thing that you're making it is just a very small portion of the thing. The thing is getting it out. You have to promote it. You have to do all kinds of promotional work to allow people to become aware of it. Even, and now as a composer within this system, like when you have Netflix or somebody else putting things out, as a composer, you have to do your additional push to allow it, and that, it's called PR, public relations or marketing. Classical composers who are working in the classical world have PR companies. They don't outwardly say it, but they hire big companies to kind of do that kind of promotional work for them. They know when the festival dates are happening. They know when orchestras are going to program. They know all of this, and they go, hey, check this out. And they do a one sheet of the classic. I'm talking the classical music side, not this one. So it's in every aspect of the industry. Popular music, obviously, right? Suddenly you're seeing an actor a lot on TV. And why are they on Jimmy Kimmel? Oh, they happen to have a movie. And it's because they have the movie. They're not just visiting coincidentally. Yeah. It's all part of the promotion of the film. So on music, PR is an important thing. God, it took forever to get to the fact that I was able to join the Emmys, which was like, I couldn't believe it because I had enough credits, because you have to have a certain amount of credits in order to join the Television Academy. And this allowed me to join the Television Academy. And then I got to meet the folks that are there. And the first time, my experience was incredible because I'm a fan of so many of the composers, and they were in that room. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest day of my life.
And they're the ones that vote.
They're the ones that vote too. Yeah. But that's the thing. There is a community of people. Whereas the voting is important. I think also for people that do music and popular music, whatever, there's a lot of people that go, oh, the Grammys, whatever. If you don't join and vote, you have no say. Right. The vote actually makes the difference. You have to participate and be in it. Anyway, I don't know where we're going here, but
because
that was
the meet and greet.
Yeah.
You said you went to a meet and greet that had to do with.
Yeah.
So that's how you branched into the PR idea.
Yeah, because I realized had I not done that, it may have not happened. That there was another level of awareness that people need to have.
You had to join this thing in order to basically be nominated, in order to make a short list to be nominated.
Yes,
to then be chosen.
So it was a long. Sorry, I'm taking forever to talk, but yeah.
But that led to this, probably, right?
Yes, and again. Here's the other thing. I won like that award, and it was like mind-numbing and incredible, but I didn't get hired again for like another 2 years. Like I thought, oh, now Bambi's going to be home. Like it's going to be great, thumper and just, it's flowers. And no, bills were still there. And, but it was Scott again. Scott is really the reason I'm here. I mean, that has been like the single relationship that has changed how people even perceive me because of the work I've gotten to do with him.
Because of the humble guitar lesson?
Because of the amazing, he's amazing. He truly is. And he hired me again on The Queen's Gambit. And he sends me he didn't have a screenplay. He sends me an email. He says, this is what we're probably doing next. And I see Walter Tevis, and I download the book immediately. And that book I read, because I was talking earlier that I don't read books. The books of the things I work on, I do read.
Right.
So I read that book, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then I ended up starting to think about it, because the problem is that Walter Tevis in his novel describes chess, and one thing that's not in the show that maybe some of you've seen is that she listens to classical music. She listens to Vivaldi, and she listens to. So when I'm reading the novel, I'm going, I have to do a classical score. Right. And they describe the game, and it's a moment where Tevis is saying, oh, it's like chamber music. I'm like, oh no, I'm screwed. This is going to be a very hard score, because it's going to be classical and contrapuntal and have a lot of busyness. And so I go, and then Scott says, look, I want it to be a piano-only score. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, no, it's just piano. I don't care if it's 4 pianos, it's just piano. I go, fine, no problem. And that's the thing about Scott. It's like the challenge and the gauntlet is laid down. And then you're
answering to his vision also.
Always.
Right?
And yeah, that's the thing like I said before, you're not coming from the mountain on high with your gift. You're like being hit sideways with a bat, and then it's like, how does this work? And you have to rethink the process, because it's truly a collaborative in which in its ideal state, it's a back and forth, but mostly you're trying to serve a vision and trying to get in line with what they want to do. We have to learn their language, wide shot, like all these different things that are their language is what we have to learn. They're not supposed to learn music. Directors aren't supposed to know major from minor.
Go back to school for another 10 years. Also.
Yeah, no, it's just annoying. Like, we're here to serve their vision, period. And if we miss that, we're gonna get fired. I guess. I mean, really, we have to understand how we serve this. Yeah.
What I think is so I really wanted to show you guys the script to screen thing in the Godless, because I think is so interesting. Gosh, as a director, I would love to have music from the script moment onward. Yeah. But what's interesting about this, and that I saw in your other talk, which I loved, was that it's about the iteration. So the process of what you offered, and then they were like, no.
Are you gonna play it? Are you gonna play the first one I did?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me set up really quick.
Okay.
Really quick.
Hold on a second. Let me stop it. I don't know how to stop it.
Oh, don't stop it.
Okay.
Or stop it. Whatever.
There.
Okay. So this is like my first version, and I can tell you something after. But this is like my take on what it was gonna be. And it was a first game.
Only piano.
And it's not. It kind of isn't. It stops being only piano. But I'll explain a little bit why later. But at the beginning inception, it was that. But this was my vision, and my vision is the point of a character who's brilliant, genius, in a world that is surrounded of darkness, browns, and I was watching browns and, grays. And she's a genius, so she's a light in a dark place. So that was sort of my approach to this. My first game that I had to score. There's like 20-something games that I had to score, but this one was the first one. So that was my first take.
And it's the main title, is it not? No, or it was just the game?
This is just a game.
Okay.
I hope. Yeah.
You're gloating.
I'm not.
So I sent that. I thought I understood it. I tried to make this beautiful thing that certain important moves have this string swell, right? And like a light in a dark world kind of music. So I get a call from Scott.
And I just realized that I didn't have.
Oh, you don't have the actual scene? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're gonna watch it, and then it'll be different.
It's so different.
It is. But the short of it is that. He calls me after I sent him that, and he was filming still in Germany. And so he calls me. He goes, "Carlos, you're scoring the wrong movie with that music." And I was like, "Oh my God, no! What am I gonna do?" You know, like. And I didn't know what to do. And so what ends up happening is the cue is on Spotify. Maybe you can hear it later or something. But it says the cue is called "You're Gloating," which is what he says. My way out was to think about this story instead of a light in a dark world, which makes this music, if you think about it, it's kind of like an after-school special score. You know, it kind of is kind of like, oh, look at her, she's got the light. You know what I mean? And if you're not pushed by someone, by a collaborator, the other side of it won't come out. And the other side of it was to treat Beth Harmon's story as a fable, but a dark one. Right, which is she's a victim of choices that were made by her, for her by the time she's 8 or 9 years old. Her mom tries to end their life.
It's very fable-like.
It's very, but it's a dark
cautionary tale. She gets a bad bargain. She gets a bad
very
deal.
bad bargain,
Yeah.
and she's her own worst enemy too. Right, through her addiction, and again that was forced into, and then. But I always started thinking, what if I score it like a Disney book? You know, like the old Disney movies where once upon a time and then the book opens and the camera's pushing in, but dark. And that was what led to the music that's in the Queen's Gambit. But had it not been through that, I wouldn't have led to that.
But also, I guess the reason why I got sidetracked by showing the before and after to that is because the main title is so lovely. And I found this live recording of the orchestra, which is so wonderful.
This has to do with a lot of the counterpoint that I was talking about. That you're going to hear in that main title, the challenge of the game, but also the bad guy goes dun dun dun, but also dun dun dun. There's like a bad guy motif that plays, and victory music in the middle that I end up using throughout the show. Ba da 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 di da 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 da. Like this very long line melody, which is something I love to try. But I'll shut up.
Enjoy. It's so beautiful.
So that's the main title, yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Very
One
beautiful.
side note that I laugh is because the original ended earlier. It doesn't have the ending that goes bump, 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 ba 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 bump, bump. You know, it has this obsessive ending. It was another desperate moment because we were almost done with the entire thing, and Scott's like, I'm not sure about the main title, and I go, What? And then he goes, no, I just don't. I feel like it needs to be something else. And I go, well, then, and he goes, maybe try something else. And then, and I was running. I remember when I got the call, I was like, oh God. And I run home, and then I get home and I start thinking, how am I going to, because this is woven into the entire story. It's like all these motifs are, this is, what can I do that's different that would be.
This is like the overture, like the whole thing is in there.
It's in there.
Yeah.
But again, if you think about it, I didn't say, what's wrong with you, man? Which is what instinctively you want to do, but don't you understand and all that. And you don't argue, because you have to take the challenge and try it, because you'll never know. You'll never know. So I was about to take the challenge and try it, and I get an email from him going, well, maybe it's okay. And I go, yes, it's super okay. I'm going to add an ending to it that's going to make it really powerful and blah, 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 blah. And that's where this ending, again, is a desperate attempt to keep the main title.
He knows how to direct you, is the bottom line.
Yeah, obviously. I guess that's the right word. But yeah.
But then again, there's this.
Yeah, man, it was
very
crazy.
well deserved.
That was crazy, because I went there knowing I wasn't going to win, because Dune was nominated. Was nominated, and Soul, and all this other stuff.
Soul, yeah,
So,
which is crazy.
And I was like sitting there. I went with my wife. I was chewing gum. We walked the red carpet because, and we're just like, hey, we went to Vegas. It was just like this. We're gonna go have fun because we're not gonna win. Dune, and come on, it's like one of the best. It's literally my favorite score for a long. It's just perfect because I love Hans Zimmer's music and all of that. So I'm just having a good time. And they go, we have a tie. And it's like, Carlos Rivera for Queen's Gambit and Soul, Trent Reznor. And I was like, ugh. So I was chewing gum. And I had to
and Trent Reznor on par.
Dude, that was crazy. And so I gave my chewing gum to my wife, and she was like, hasn't left me. And then, but I had to, and I ran up with my, I didn't know. I really wasn't expecting it. So it's a real privilege.
And very well deserved. It's so beautiful. Okay, wait a minute. What is this? What did I do here? Oh, this is... I just wanted to say that I thought one of the coolest things about doing the research of your work and your teaching online is that the consciousness is so much about, like you said, that sort of nugget was that you wanted to teach and you wanted to like impart, and at the end of this, you say something that I really liked, that the point of having a massive masterclass like the one you just did online.
I want to thank you so much for sticking with me till the end of this. It's been a real privilege to get to share this sequence from the Queen's Gambit with you. And the purpose of all of this is to help you improve upon the work I'm doing myself. The idea of what we're doing is improving the work of the entire industry and moving it forward. And having a platform such as this is truly a gift for me. So I want to thank you for your attention, and hopefully you do apply some of these tools and share them and move forward. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around.
Serving the industry. That's beautiful. And moving everyone forward all together. That's the best.
That's like the Yoda thing, like teachers we are what they grow beyond, with our students, and the idea is like, the whole point is to elevate the game. The game is here, and you're doing the best to kind of be not sucking. And then some students show up and they're like, hey, what's up? I'm like, yes, and that's the goal.
But and that it's just completely, I wouldn't say it's contrary, but it's just so far beyond any idea of like, oh, I'm here and I'm hoarding this knowledge, or we're competing for whatever it is. It's just totally not even.
That's just stupid. That's mediocre thinking, I think.
But that's what's so great is that I think that there are a lot of people who do have that idea.
There's a lot of mediocre people.
Well, but also, or like a paranoia or a jealousy or whatever.
It's an industry of insecurity, and I think that there's people who's like, I want to share my secret, because it's like, and it's funny you're mentioning that. Somebody told me that there's like, you share your secrets. It's not secret. It's like, it's the same app you use. It's the same. It's the same thing.
Same software.
There's nothing like, it's just. I think that you put the hours in and you put the work in, and I do think of it as a craft. I think the artistry thing is something that's born when it's a collaborative, when it's not that I wrote this music and this music, blah, blah, blah. It's like I wrote this because I was trying to join into someone else's brilliance, which is, so you always want to rise to the occasion. The sound design I've been able to work with, the sound designer, his name is Wiley Stateman. And Stateman, we've worked on like all of Scott's projects. I even worked with him on Griselda, which was not a Scott project. And we call him Obi-Wan Kenobi. and because he's worked on all the Tarantino films for sound, and some of the best sound. Because your immersion in a film is not just music at all. It's the acting, the editing, the lighting, the production, the
mix.
value, the costumes, the everything. And then so you're adding your part to that. And that's what you have to be very aware that that's what you're trying to do. It's not like, I don't know, man. Yeah. But I'm also older. So I think if I'd been younger, maybe I'd be that guy. I was like, I don't know if I should share this, you know? But I think that it is born out of insecurity, or, you know, and it's a constant struggle. It doesn't mean like, you know, I'm super insecure, but I'm not, you know what I mean? But it's a constant struggle to trying to be understanding why you're even doing this in the first place.
Well, we're glad and we're lucky that you do. Can you say something about this series? Because I know that this is a long-running series, and you were part of it?
Part of season 3.
Part of season 3.
So I get approached by Walo, who ended up working with me on a few other projects so far, who's a music editor, but he was in charge of the music for La Reina del Sur 3. And what happened is that this is after the Queen's Gambit, and I get a call, and he's like, yeah, we're working on La Reina del Sur 3, and blah, blah, blah. And I told my mom, you know, because Godless was really for my dad. My dad loved Westerns, and he passed away since, you know, and my mom passed away recently a few years ago. But before that, I was like, Mom, you know, because I've been doing that, and Queen's Gambit did really well, and Godless did really well and all that. And I was like, Mom, you know, I have an opportunity to do La Reina del Sur. She goes, finally, my son, you made it. You've made it. So I did La Reina del Sur for my mom.
They're
legit.
never satisfied.
100, no, because she loved that show, man. That was like, and it's a global thing. Like I didn't know. And
my mom watched it too.
Exactly, man. It was like, and it's international, like a big thing. So
it's pretty brutal. I mean,
it's very strong. It's like, you know, the whole narco thing, but it was. I ended up writing a narco corrido for that with Walo, and I did the song. I did my version of it, which doesn't sound like a narco corrido, but the melody and the chords, and he wrote the lyrics, and then we send it to someone, and I forgot his name right now. I can't believe it, but Juan Camilo. He ended up producing it in Mexico with pop artists that do that genre of music.
Okay.
So the song is a completely authentic thing based on this music I wrote for the song that became part. It's a mess.
So that's what I wanted to ask you, actually.
Yeah.
This is correct, right? This is the main title that you did for season 3.
Oh, yeah. This is not that narco song.
No,
yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
pretty good.
Well, thank you.
It's pretty epic.
Well, it was epic because the story actually left. I think first season was all in Mexico, and the second one's like in Spain, and then this was a global. They told me it's a global story. It goes from Mexico to Argentina. So there's Andean music. You hear the flute, right? Right, whatever, and all this stuff, and all these different guitars and this different percussion, and the whole idea was to do a pan Latin American sound, you know, and so the idea was to have something aggressive. However, they were very used to a narco song being in the main title, like it's a song, you know. Este es el cuento de la reina, you know, like the first one and second. They have these it's really cool music, and because it's storytelling based, you know. And
the
corrido, yeah, man, and especially the narco corrido is it's like a total thing that I learned about.
Subgenre.
Yeah, it's like this awesome thing, but they were terrified that the audience would react negatively to this because it was a main title that was different. And I forgot his name. I can't believe I'm getting old, obviously, but he was the head of all of this stuff, and he's sitting there, and then we're like terrified playing it for him in Telemundo TC Studios here, and he goes, and we hear it, we play it back, and he goes, play it again. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know, do you like it? You know, and then they ended up doing something where the main title in the show has a little bit of the narco thing that we wrote, the narco corrido moment, halfway and then it ends. So they can acknowledge the past, but they wanted to move forward. He was very bold, and I can't believe I forgot his name, man. This is so embarrassing. Amazing.
But he greenlit it,
he
basically.
He greenlit it, and he was like, he really, man, he's the visionary behind that show becoming this global thing. So, again, I'm going to look up his name or something. I feel embarrassed. But yeah, it was
Somebody
great.
Google. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is what the reason I found out about your work was through this, because I adored the music in Lessons in Chemistry.
Oh,
and there's,
thank you.
I don't know if it's because it was the 50s and then you added things that were like from the 50s, and there was like this part of the score that was like kind of Latin, but it was like that 50s music, 50s Latin music. Like I was like, this is so cool.
No, yeah.
Who's this guy?
No.
So I wanted to show. What did I want to show? Oh, this I thought was so cool. It looks, sorry guys, that it's like a vertical video because it's actually like a YouTube reel.
Oh yeah, it's the thing.
But I thought it was so, I really wanted you guys to see her, how it ends up, right, on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Plus plus the sheet music, plus the composition and where it comes out of and whatnot. So I think it's so cool that you guys get to see the whole thing together. And it's very exciting. And it's a very beautifully shot scene, I think.
Yeah, that's the
traveling camera.
Yeah, that's the opening shot. Yeah. The whole thing
really
is.
lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always hard to get that beginning was very hard to get because I had this sort of like bam, bam, and it was without that movement it sounded sad, and then you had to kind of come up with this sort of motion to kind of get to the moment of the story you always when you're writing you start forgetting. It's easy to forget that you're just enjoying writing, and so you're writing something that this feels good, but you're forgetting. It's easy to forget that you're supposed to get the audience to come along with you in that feeling, and it's a North Star that you have to keep, and that means movement. Come on, dude, don't get into your head and don't get into yourself. We have to go along with this. And the camera
what's so
movement.
beautiful about that movement and about the sound of that score is that it's almost like you hear these like little light sort of bell-like thing, and she's so pretty and like Grace Kelly-like that I'm like, is this Tinkerbell walking into a TV studio?
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean?
You
get this thing, and then you have like the strings when people start talking to her, moving away, as if a person were music, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, and you want to lead it to the main moment, which follows, that you don't see her. The setup is you don't see her face until they go 3, 2, 1, and she goes, "Welcome to whatever her show was called," and it's Brie Larson. It's like an actor's entrance. There are little moments that you always have to think about. There are tropes in storytelling.
Yeah. When somebody's very important, they'll start off with their back to you. You know that you have to pay attention to this person if the first time you ever see them is like this.
Yeah, and there's something powerful about not seeing their face, not seeing them revealed, not seeing that. And then they turn around and you're like, oh my God, they're so cool. Well, the idea is like you that's a setup all to, and the music keeps building all the way until it stops. And it stops on not a resolved chord, right? It starts on this, not like da-da-da. But it's da-da-da. And then the da, or the resolution, is the character's face, is the line they say. And thinking in those ways helps the storytelling. Yeah.
And back to the Emmys.
That was crazy. That one, because that one I didn't expect either. That one we were like, you know why? Because it was Shogun's night. It was Shogun night, and
Shogun. It was like the first season, I guess, of show. Yeah.
Yeah, and then even though I don't know what I was nominated against in that, but definitely the main title I was against Shogun, and it's funny because Shogun didn't win either of categories it was nominated for, but it won everything else: costumes, acting, blah 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 blah. And we were all sitting together. I was sitting with all the other composers, and we sit like in this one area. There was like two areas, but I was like, it's funny because this guy Atli Orvison who's like he did Silo, but he's done a bunch of stuff. He's like an amazing composer, like whatever. He's worked forever and whatever, super cool. And I was like, oh my God, it's Atli Orvison. And then all of a sudden this lady comes up and she goes, they tell you when the nomination goes, just to let you know not to go to the bathroom. The category is going to be called very soon, you know? And Atli says, what's the use? Shogun's going to win anyway. Why are we can go to the bath. We can go to the bar. I was like, this is so funny, you know? Because we weren't. And then Jeff Toyne won main title, which I was up for main title, and deservedly so for, what's the one with?
No idea.
You do, yeah. It's a massive Apple show. It's a ba ba bum ba bum ba bum bow. I can sing it. That's why it won.
Come on, guys.
It's
name that tune.
Well, it's the name of the girl from SNL. She used to be with Bill Hader all the time. She's super funny.
Not Kristen Wiig.
Yes, Kristen Wiig, and she's in a show, an Apple show. I can't believe. Again, guys, this is like I'm so unprepared. What? Palm Royale. Palm Royale is the name of the show. It did very well. He won for the main title, and if you listen to it, you'll see. Yeah, it's great. And then they called me. I forgot what I was against, and I just didn't think I'd win, but I did.
There you go.
Which is crazy.
Which is great. And if you all have the wherewithal, look up the interview on Deadline. It's a good half an hour, 45 minutes that they did where you talk about lessons in chemistry and all the different motifs and stuff.
It was
very good.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this, which actually closed the Miami Film Festival recently.
Last year, I think,
Last year, yeah.
Or it was one of the films.
Last year, or when was it? It was 2 years ago, right?
It was 24? It was 24.
Not the festival that just happened, the one before.
Yeah.
23.
Oh, exactly. 24.
24, correct.
Yeah.
Which is Tony Goldwyn.
Tony Goldwyn, man. I got this weird call, and it was like, oh, it's Tony Goldwyn. I know him from Ghost.
Oh, from...
I don't know if anybody knows the movie
but
Ghost.
He's like Hollywood royalty, right? Because he's really is a Goldwyn.
He is. Yeah, that's right. From Metro Goldwyn Mayer, he's one of the... but I didn't know that either.
He's like the grandson of Samuel, originally Goldfish.
I actually didn't know that.
Piece of trivia.
I didn't know that until after I was done with the movie.
Nuts.
I was like, oh my God, dude, you know? But yeah, so I got a call from Bill Holberg, actually produced Queen's Gambit, as one of the producers, and he goes, hey, I'm doing this movie with this guy, Tony Goldwyn. And I'm thinking, the guy from Ghost? Sorry, because he's a bad guy from Ghost. Anyway, it's okay. It's a long movie, and many of you weren't born, but that's fine. And anyway, so, and I get a call from him, and it's a Robert De Niro movie. And for me, it's like a major bucket list.
Robert De Niro is wonderful in this movie.
Yeah, he's actually really,
so
really
unexpected.
Great. Bobby Cannavale is incredible in this movie. And that's another actor I love. Yeah. But, you know, the bucket list of little things is like, I get to do a De Niro film. Oh, my God, my dad was, because he loved him, too. And anyway, so a very challenging film because it's the story of a child who's on the spectrum and neurodivergent and really just really a hard way in to kind of help tell the story, because again, Tony kept using the word puckish. We want it to be puckish, so it's a lot of like Little Miss Sunshine energy, if anybody knows that film. A lot of that kind of music I started writing, and it wasn't landing. It just wasn't working until I got into the head of what if we have the worldview of Ezra himself, you know, and what's going on in the head as he's being himself in this world that's not his world, right? And the music kind of is born out of that idea, and that got approved, and we were lucky to get to the end.
Oh, here you can hear it, and it's a great movie if you haven't seen it, so definitely look it up.
That's the introduction of the character because he's,
It's so beautiful, right? And I think it's so interesting. Before we were talking about if a person were music or if music were a person. I think it's interesting what the emotion is of this character. Because before you said something was an obsessive piece of music for an obsessive character.
Yes.
And he's clearly an obsessive character. And you wanted to give that, I would imagine, or those emotions that are very stressful, right? Because his life is a constant.
Yeah, it's his worldview, and it's not that. I think it's just always trying to score character more than it's character. For me, it's all character driven. Like if I can get into the mind of the character and try to portray that musically, and ultimately that the cue gets approved by the director, then it's all good. It has to be approved. I don't, because we always talk from our perspective of like, but as long as it's approved, then we get to talk about this idea. Because then if something else would have been approved, I would have been talking about something else. It's this weird thing that I always want to keep in check, that it's not like, here, and then I thought. It's like, I thought that, but then they said yes. Right. It's just really good to have that perspective for anybody else that's interested in this.
That they have to,
agree. It's a collaborate. Yes, it's a collaboration first.
So this, which is a Miami story, speaking of Miami stories.
Yeah, man, crazy.
Crazy. Actually, I did see that her son was at Books and Books like last year with his book. So they're at large.
Nice.
The Griselda family. Yeah.
Michael Corleone.
That's right, his name.
Michael Corleone, that's his name, man.
You did?
Really? Oh, that's so cool.
That's
man.
awesome,
That's so cool.
Okay, so there's a how-to video. I had to include this. It's
Sure.
Very interesting.
Sure. Is this the... Oh, yeah. You read this, it'll be hopefully not boring.
I thought that was so cool. So there you get to see the process.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So the voice, that's like the voice memo app?
Yeah, it's the phone. You're like, it's like, that's like, people ask how you write. That's one of the ways to do it. You're just reacting to the picture with words and with your voice, and then you put it in there, and then you start filling those notes that are out. I don't know if anybody does creative stuff, like when they write, you get that thing idea at 2:00 in the morning, and then you put it in your voice memo, and you're like, and then in your mind you're going da 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 da, and then you wake up
and you're like,
morning,
what is
and when you hear it, it sounds like, and you're like, I don't know what I did, and it's like
it was really good when I thought of
it. and that's the crazy part about this. But yeah, so that was that idea, like stopping on the face reveal, and then I did ask the title people to kind of help me hit the card. You know, you have to hit the title card because it was like the way I had it. I was like, can you push it back just 10 frames, just enough to just, can you push that? And that's collaboration because it helps, you know, the effect. So
Right. Well,
Yeah.
It's beautifully done.
no, this one is with Eric Newman, producer, and Andy Baez, who did the Narcos,
guy.
shows, the Narcos,
Yeah.
Mexico and Narcos and stuff. And he's great, man. I mean, that was such a great, honestly, that's like the easiest project I've had in the sense of our collaborative process. We talked for like a month. He sent me a playlist of 80s stuff. There's a lot of Scarface-like ideas in the synthesizer world of Giorgio Moroder, who's a great composer, and all of this sort of wah, 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 and all this crazy, and then a lot of music because this is happening in the 70s, 80s. And then he sends me a playlist of classical stuff. And then I thought, oh man, what if we treat this like an opera? Like
She's a very operatic character.
operatic character. And when she speaks, it's like the aria thing, and I thought that would be really cool. So there's harpsichord because of that. We started using harpsichord to kind of really treat it like, it sounds very like a Mozart-y like thing. It's not, but it's like that feeling of this is a really going to be an opera. Exactly.
It's epic. She's Medea.
And it shouldn't work. But because it's so on top, so over the top, it kind of, you just buy into it. And that's the fun. And yeah, when he sent me that scene, he goes, I just want you to see what Sofia Vergara looks like. I don't think the scene needs music. It's so raw, and I want it very raw, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, dude. But when I saw her like hand, like she's going, and then we see the shot of her blood on her hand, I was like, and I started just singing into that. And then what you heard, and then I started, and I sent it to him, and I go, I don't know if this is going to work, but based on what we've been talking about, he goes, I love it. And I was like, great.
That was easy.
That's never happened since or before. So just know that that's not how this works. So,
Well, I mean, this is another Scott Frank project, which I actually haven't seen, and I'm dying to see now that I saw your music on it.
Sure.
So I wanted to share this too. I feel like I'm plugging Monsieur Spade, but why not?
No, Clive Owen's great in it.
And he is great.
Clive Owen, dude.
Yeah,
I was like, it's crazy.
He's great.
That
This
was
is so
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very beautiful, and
Thank you,
definitely
thank you,
goes
thank you.
into the noir world.
It's totally noir. It's totally
Yeah.
Sam Spade is a iconic character, and yeah, it was again with Scott. It's a great privilege to work with him, and his storytelling is really, really great. So, definitely wanted flugelhorn, like trumpet. This like was that warm trumpet, you know, where you have. Writing is research, and you think of like, you know, Chinatown and Jerry Goldsmith's scores, and what he did for was L.A. Confidential, where trumpet is sort of always been featured in the noir sort of.
Right, because you have this feeling of like the lone wolf, so you need like a lone voice.
The lone instrument,
Yeah.
but interesting and bluesy, but you know, it's like it's again these themes are supposed to invite you into the story, you know, and that's sort of the goal, and to be interesting enough, but to be appealing enough to an audience that will kind of care to listen.
And also that it clues you in. You're like, all right, I know what I'm in for with this music.
It's themes. Main titles are like an invitation to the party. That's what they are. They serve a specific purpose. When you hear them, you're like, I want to know more about whatever this is. And it goes from Friends to whatever, I forget the right claps. My wife loves that show, and the theme, right? From going back to the 70s, where it's like the Rockford Files, like Mike Post's music that he did for Baba Black Sheep or The White Shadow. Sorry, that's Rockford Files. Down. It's like really one of those great themes. Chips and 70s shows had great themes, man. The A-Team. Quantum Leap in the 80s, and like all these shows that we grew up watching, they all have this sort of thing. That always felt like totally separate from whatever this, it's just this thing that tells you and captures the party, you know, and so that's always been an obsession for me to try to do that, you know.
I think that's very fun. And actually, going back to the character thing, because you were talking about character, so this is a very successful show.
Yeah, it's
heard
crazy.
a lot of great things about this show.
Crazy, yeah. Crazy.
And
I didn't
so,
expect that either.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Because I got the call. I got a meeting. It's like I've been talking about this with other people, because I've had meetings that I've gotten a job. I've had meetings where I haven't gotten the job. And you go to these Zoom meetings now, like they're just weird. And because there's like the slight maybe time difference, and then you say something and there's this awkward silence, and there's usually...
And then it lags.
And it lags. And there's a lot of people in boxes. There's a lot of people. It's not just the maker, it's just the maker and all these other people. And you're like, hey, and then you have this gracious version of yourself, and then, but I want to be me, and then maybe me isn't likable, and then whatever you're thinking, and then you start having the meeting, and then I've had meetings where it goes so well, and I don't get the job, and this is a constant. It still happens, and I've had meetings where it's gone terribly, and I've gotten the job. I've had terrible meetings that I don't get the job, you know. This one was one of those meetings where they're like, hey, and they're like, listen, we have a character, it's kind of like a Joan Rivers-like character. Her name is Deborah Vance. She's on the twilight of her career. So she's going to be kind of like on the way down, but Vegas-y. And then we have this other character, Ava, who's kind of starting up and coming, but she's, you know, very kind of annoying and blah, blah, blah. And we got to find something. I was like, I told them in the meeting, I have no idea how to do this. I have no clue how this is going to work. Like, I literally said that because I had no idea how to do that.
And they liked you anyway.
And they hired me, which is insane. And then and then the show, I just didn't know, and the show has literally resonated with a lot. We're in the 4th season now. The big moment's coming in the next few weeks. It's on HBO Max. Finally, they changed their name back to HBO Max from Max, which I'm super grateful for.
Yeah,
and
we were lost without it.
It was like this.
What the hell channel is this?
Yeah, because you would say, oh, it's on Max, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'll be quiet.
Okay, but you actually did another one of these really great reels about it.
Oh, the thing about the characters.
Yeah, about the characters.
Yeah. Ava and Deb start the season as enemies, so musically we had to convey a kind of battle. These characters who have come to love each other and are deeply bonded now have to square off against each other.
We wanted the audience to get sucked into the drama. Are they really enemies now? Will this ultimately jeopardize the late night show's chances for success?
Okay, so that is very brief, but then it follows into... Then you talk about... Oh, I don't know what happened to that other video. Then you talk about how she's one type of
Yes.
music, and then the
Ava is the other one.
Ava's the
and
other one.
basically, the only thing to say is,
sorry.
okay, that's Ava's theme. So Deborah's theme is a music theme. Da da da. Ba ba bang, ba da 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 na na ni na. That's sort of like the motif, whatever. But it's got music that's descending because her career is ending. Ba da da dum bum bum bum. It's going down. And then Ava's theme is all up, and perky, I guess. Da, 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 da. So I don't know what you're going to play.
Make sure. Okay.
Press play.
So which one is this one?
Oh yeah, I love that. That's Ava's theme.
Okay, so that's Ava's theme.
Yeah, it's all uppity and hopeful.
And then the, I guess, what did I do with the other one?
Oh, that's fine.
This is a crazy day. So yes, and the other one is the
Deborah Vance.
The Deborah Vance.
And the other one is kind of like just going down. And if she's going up, the other one is still, it's just, but the idea was, and this, I never tell the directors these things, like the showrunners who I'm working with, like this is sort of like a self-motivator. And I only talk about it once it's approved, right? But like in the moment, you're just presenting a theme and they'll say no or yes. And that's all. You don't go, I'm thinking of Deborah Vance as in the twilight of her career and blah, blah, blah. So I wrote this harmonic progression that blah, blah. They don't care ever about this conversation. And so I just present it. And then they go, yeah, we like it. Great. Then that's awesome because we get to say this now. But in the moment, it's like, it's not part of your pitch to say these. For me, what's worked is not to get into that sort of thing. You always want to be just more open, and that's where I've learned from Obi-Wan. Wiley Stateman, I've seen him in these meetings. And when Scott or somebody doesn't like the sound of the rain on the hood, which is the sound area, he goes, I don't like the sound of the rain on the car hood. He's like, yeah, I think we can come up with a couple more options. He's not going to say, hey, I'm Wiley Stateman. I work with Tarantino. He's not doing that. It's collaborative, and he's saying, yeah, well, I think we can come up with a few more options. There's no that's super important to know because the ego is the worst enemy. Your sense of, but they don't understand. No, they don't. And they also don't care, bro. So anyway, sorry.
Well, which I think is actually one of the things that was in the Deadline interview that I saw. And I thought that was so interesting that, to me, I interpret it as humility and as patience, but I think what you're saying is that this is like a technique in order to achieve something together.
Yes.
It's like, just be like, okay, I've got something else.
Yeah,
I've got something else.
Know your place. Know your place in this. And then you're lucky. And then you can get to that point where it's truly back and forth. There's a lot of, and there are hills I'll stand on and die on or whatever, but they're very few and far between. And when I really feel like I'm truly compelled, not because I like the music so much, is because what I think the music is doing is serving the story in that way, the best. And I've gotten to the point where I will do that. But if it was the ego taking over, every cue would be version 1. And it's not true. And this thing I've done in Hacks, there was a scene, I think you were there, I was talking, there's like a 20 version or 24 versions of one scene where there's a car chase going on.
Oh, Lord.
And that's normal. That's just normal.
That's so many.
It's insane, but you just keep going.
Okay, and now here I am also plugging this new thing, which I'm very excited about because I think Matthew Goody's awesome.
Yes, he is.
He's hilarious.
He's good in this. He's great in this.
He's probably great in this. So I actually couldn't find your music because it's not out yet.
It's not out yet. No, it's not out
So
yet.
then there's a trailer, and I thought, I don't even know if the trailer is your music.
Never
it's
my
not.
music. It's never, very few times do you hear the trailer with but you can play a trailer. I mean, you get a sense of the story. And
it's all Scottish and dreary and hilarious also.
Yeah.
They're like very dryly funny.
They are. And then, but I think the story is really, really dark. Jesse Adler Olsen, is the author.
So you read you had to
Yes,
research.
for the first one. I read the first one, which is The Keeper of Lost Causes, is what the novel is based on. And so this is an adaptation of that, which was already adapted in a Scandinavian, for like movies. They've made movies of each of his novels. But this is the adaptation of that first novel into a miniseries or episodic.
Because dark and Scandinavian doesn't go together, right?
Ever, how could it? But they reset it. Instead of there, they set it in Scotland. So it takes place in Scotland, and he's like a British cop that's working in Scotland and trying to solve a case.
And I think we'll just have to, the problem is that we'll probably just have to invite you back once we have your music live on YouTube.
Yeah, I'd love to play
But
it
I think
for you,
it's going to be a great series, so I want you guys to see the trailer and get excited about it.
Aren't you supposed to ask me some questions?
How about how your best friend was shot in front of you and you think that it's your fault?
Is this some new kind of therapy?
We are here today to announce a new department aimed specifically at tackling cold cases. At the helm of this new department will be Detective Chief Inspector Carl Mork.
My own department? Just me? Do I need a car?
No, we can't just give you a car. This isn't The Price is Right.
I understand you're reopening the Lingard case.
She was the most rueful person I've ever met. I hope you never find her.
I've seen too many cases like this. Someone's dead one day, gone the next. Who are you? I'm your new assistant. This is some kind of joke, yeah?
It's very, eager.
Which is code for pain in the arse.
Oh, you two should get along wonderfully then.
You want us to investigate us?
We need to give the cage a good rattle.
Ah, Team Doolally, to what I owe this pain.
We located the driver.
And where is this driver?
We've been rattling his cage.
I think he feels responsible. For what? Everything.
There's a hand grenade about to go off.
Just tell me why you think you're going to do any better.
Because I'm doing it.
He's English.
I'm so sorry.
You gotta watch it, guys.
Yeah.
I just gotta get you excited about it, even though that's not your score.
No, that's fine. No, honestly, I love that. I heard somebody maybe made a comment somewhere and they said, oh, I really like how you avoided the dialogue, because I'm always talking about with my students. I have two of my students here that are graduates from the program. One of them is my TA, Xicheng, and Brennan, and then Brennan just graduated. Congratulations. So I'm so grateful that they showed up. But they were they know how I obsess with dialogue, that music has to always work around the dialogue's the melody and all that stuff. And somebody said a comment, it's like, I love how in the trailer, you really worked around the dialogue. I was like, I didn't do that, dude. That's not my music, but thank you. And I just thought it was hilarious. But what's great about my favorite thing of the trailer is the thing that trailers suffer from. This one does not.
But it tells you the cool parts.
You have no idea what this is about. This is no idea, and I love that, because a lot of trailers tell you the whole movie. The whole movie, you watch it, you're like, credits? Why don't you just roll the credits? I know everything that's going to happen. Now we're working together, and right. You know what I mean? Like you see them, like all these things, and this one doesn't do it, and I think that's a gift. So I'm very, very excited about that.
So it's very well done, and it's exciting, and so that is another collaboration with Scott Frank.
My fifth now. Fifth time so cool. working with him, and that's great. That's the crazy thing about getting older. You're like, wow, I've been doing this for a while. That's the thing that's insane to me still. Like, because I do feel like I've just, started doing this, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel any differently about the work, than I did when I almost got fired at A Walk Among the Tombstones. I'm not kidding. Like I feel very not sure and what's going to happen, but I've reframed. I've learned to understand that that's just how I roll. How I do this, and
you look at it always as a clean slate, like a beginner.
Yeah, you never know, and it's true. Like there's a lot of things that I just, even using a DAW or importing picture and lining things up, all the technical stuff. I feel like it happens so often. It's always like you're starting anew, and you're not like. I look up at videos of how to do the basic things, the wax on, wax off of it all. I still look up and I'm like, how do I move? How do I get that library to work? Or there's like, and you never stop learning, which is the reason why this is so exciting. Because I'm 54 now,
But there's a YouTube tutorial for everything.
For everything. And you're still learning. Because at some point you kind of just stop. And you're just like, I like what I like. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of no.
But you can't.
You can't.
You can't.
And these situations put you in that. They force you to, to get better.
And look for something new, which is so exciting. So I think it's time to open it up to the floor. You've all been so patient. So if anyone has a burning question that isn't my autobiography as a question, we don't do that. I'm always warning.
Wow,
we
nice.
Can't have that.
Did?
People are always like,
Yeah.
well, and so I did this, and I'm like, this isn't about you.
Yeah. No, I get it though.
But if there is a question, please go ahead. Yes?
Yeah, so I edit a lot, and I'm not making this about me, but like I'm often...
When you were 4.
Start with, I was born.
Yeah, I was born. So anyway, like a lot of my job is just going through sound libraries and trying to find the right music, but oftentimes I think I can probably score this myself. And I've dabbled in music a little bit, like I dabble in FL Studio and Contact. Sure. I was wondering, like, what would you suggest is the best way to make your own score? I guess the fastest way possible, because that's also a part of my job as well.
Well, preset music, library music is a good way to kind of start and temp. I like the idea. Like with Scott, I don't work with temporary, and temporary score. Temp music is what's given to you on a project. So they give you a first edit, and when they give you that assembly, they'll have music on it. And temporary music has been part of it since Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind, when it previewed in 1939, 40, whatever it was the year, I'm sorry, I forgot, it was previewed with other music that wasn't written yet to the picture. And I was like, I can't believe that's been going on, because for previews, they need to get scores from audiences to give feedback, and the composer hasn't come on board yet.
And the editor also, sorry to interrupt,
yes,
needs music to cut.
To cut to, to cut to and cut with. So you start with a temp, and you're saying fastest, that's the only reason why. Best is not the answer, but fastest, yes. So you put temporary music, and then you copy that style, rhythm, tempo, maybe the chords, the things, but don't get sued, which is a whole other aspect of the craft we do. Because you are going to have producers that are in love with that temporary music that's on that moment in that scene. And you have to kind of beat that with your own music and not be that. So, but as a guide to be fast, you're like, I love how this track plays on this. Good, then kind of start copying that and build something with FL or whatever to kind of get to that tone. And that's the short answer. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome,
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Yes?
I got 2 questions for you. Thank
Sure.
you for the talk and everything. One is that I think Hacks was like very different from all the other stuff. Even the genre, like, you know, from Griselda and then Queen Gambit and everything, suddenly to something that is like this pure comedy.
Yes.
And the way you were talking about how you got the job, like you literally told them that you had no idea and then they didn't. I don't know, like how was that creative process for you?
But tell us really, how did you really get the job, Carlos?
Yeah, no. I mean, it was they gave me the thing, and we started. They are very, very, very challenging because they're very, very, very brilliant, and there's 3 of them. It's Lucia Agnello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky. And because they will maybe change their mind as they go. They're very busy.
It's a 3-headed monster.
It's a three-headed challenge, and you have to kind of really think about what is going to work and context. And by the way, to be clear, season 1, those themes are my themes. Season 2, there's a whole other conversation we can have about what happens when you have these kind of deadlines and what working with a team means. My additional composer on season 1 was David Stahl. David Stahl's been with me since Godless. Asuka Ito is another member, and Ray Kim. There's 4 of us, right? But the way it usually works, I'm going to answer generally and then get specific, is that when I start and I get the screenplay, I do the script movie, I do, find the palette. I feel like I go hunting. Like I go out in the savannah and come back with the goods. That means that I've gone back and forth with the director or showrunner for maybe, if it's television or something, it's like I do 1 or 2 episodes completely on my own. I need to find the language that is speaking to them that we're all approved. Then in any of these schedules, it's a slope that keeps going up. As the time gets crunched, more music has to be made, more music, and you kind of start getting crazy. That's when the team comes in. And I'll assign melodies and themes to different people. This is the theme. This goes here. I need you to do a run of it. And we go back and forth, and then it goes. So there's this process. So David and I have been working. David, my goal has been, like in teaching, that the students get better and they graduate and move on and do great things. In the team, David has been with me the longest. So once I got a show that had a second season, I made him my co-composer. So David's been with me as a co-composer on Hacks in season 2. So we both work together on making the music and the deliverables and stuff. And he's learning a lot on how to interface with the music editor, the editors being in the room, meaning the Zoom, right?
And also allows you probably to do more projects or...
It's not so much the more projects, it's much more of like divvying up the work or with them, and that's the thing I was going to get to. We'll present them 2 versions of a cue. One's mine, one's David's, right? And the one they approve is the one that goes. But what we've done is given them 2 choices, not 1. And with them, sometimes we'll say 2 or 3 or 4 choices. Boom. Which one do you like? Well, we like the second best, and then we start working with that. And it's a really interesting thing because you start thinking about this, like, and that's why I call it a craft, because it's like when you think of costume design, the costume designer is an artist, but they're a craftsperson according to the director. You would think of like costume's not the same thing as music. Yes, it is. Set design is not the same thing as music. Yes, it is. The choice to have, this can of liquid death here changes the vibe. No, to them, in a prop, in a scene, that's a big deal. It's telling a story. It's telling a story. It all tells story. It all takes us away to the place that escape brings us, right? That's what we want. So I have no idea if I've answered your question.
Yeah, no, it's just like from as a perspective of an audience.
Yeah.
Like to me, it was like a surprise and a shock to see your, name in Hacks and like your music, and I'm like, oh, that's a different.
But it's different music too. Yeah. But that's the coolest thing about this job, because it's like you get to do like a noir thing like Spade or a classical thing. I'm working on some crazy thing now that I don't know what's happening, but it's fun. But it's synthesizer, a lot of synthesizer, and that's the thing about you get older, you start going like. It's like a way for you to break through the convention of being stuck somewhere. You can't be stuck because you're forced to be unstuck and present a kind of music that's going to work for the story, even if it's not like my comfortable place. With orchestra, like that kind of music is very comfortable for me. That kind of counterpuntal stuff, I feel very happy writing and comfortable writing. Like I understand how they work. And I used to really respect an old orchestrator that I knew that he called it the band. He didn't call it the orchestra, he called it the band. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, dude. You know what I mean? It's like French horns and it's like electric guitar, keyboard. And my concept of a band is very different than his concept, but he's right. It's just a group of people and you're just organizing who's doing the what. So.
But also, I guess that's the fun part, right? Is to not get too comfortable. No. Right? You want something different and challenging.
You gotta be challenged.
Yeah.
And the problem is that everybody says, I want to be challenged, but then when you're challenged, you suck at being challenged. Yes. And so how do you get good at that part?
I know there were more questions because I said questions and like 5 hands came up. So yes, you?
Hi. So first off, thank you for your time and being so open about your process.
Sure.
My question comes in the form of how you collaborate with like the director or the producer. It's a two-part one. The first is when you're first talking to them creatively about the project, what do they usually bring you? Is it sort of like sonic mood boards? Is it not even music?
Yeah, sometimes, sorry, you want to do the second part? Or
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last one is how you approach revisions with them when they don't have the technical musical vocabulary.
Yeah, like, great question. Going backwards, they're not supposed to have the technical vocabulary. My job, I get paid to translate that into music. I can't say, I can ask what you mean. I can say, what do you think, what don't you like? Which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. They'll say, I hate clarinet, but they meant French horn. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is real. Like, this happens all the time.
Don't trust them.
Somebody was telling me that this happened. Somebody was telling me a great story about Michael Kamen, who passed away a long time ago. One of the great composers. Did a bunch of stuff, right? He orchestrated The Wall, worked with Pink Floyd, worked with David Bowie and all these other artists. And then he also did, like, in the 90s, Robin Hood, the movie, and all these big films. It's a massive uber rock star composer guy. And there was a part where the score had these horns that were playing, and this massive moment happens. The conductor, he conducts it. He goes into the room, and he walks in, and they go, oh, I don't like. The director goes, I'm not sure about that cue, and he goes, yeah, why? He goes, I don't like the trumpets. There were no trumpets in the room. It was horns, right? And he goes, I got it. Don't worry, right? He goes out and he looks straight at the horn players and he says, trumpets, don't play. and they're all like, and they go, and that's it. And they walked out and they did it. And he goes, I love it. That's the psychology. So is he correcting because there's the other alternative.
Make him look like an idiot.
Make him look like an idiot. What do you mean trumpet? Do you see the trumpets? That could have been that, and it's not. And he played it right. He did the thing. And that's sort of like revisions are approached by iteration. It's always an iterative process. And I will tell you that 90% of the time, the revisions are worth it. It's not like, nah, it's 50-50. No, most of the time, I'm wrong. Most of the time, my first isn't exactly, and they're like, yeah, but, oh man, I wish it was a Griselda experience every time, like I said, but it's not. But I have to be open to that second, third, fourth, and then the dread starts to happen, that physical thing. First question, they'll send me, they'll vary. I've gotten playlists from directors. They have a playlist of songs on Spotify. Like I said, Andy Bai sent me a synth-based 70s kind of scores and then this operatic, classical thing. And they'll have temp already that they've chosen, right? That's another way for them to communicate. That's why temp can be good. Temp music is service because it's their best way, instead of using words, for me to hear what they're trying to say. But conversation, open line of communication, not assuming has helped a lot. Just ask specifically, for... Did I get your first question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And are there any... I know there are more hands than that. Is this one?
Yes. Again, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Talking to us. I wanted to ask the question, when you presented the voice memo idea, is that a typical idea or a typical entry into a project, or do you start with instrumentation?
So I do a few ways. That's one of the ways for sure. Like, it depends on the scene. I go at this. I'm gonna sing to that. But then the other thing I do is, like, I'll grab a scene. I'm not a good keyboard player, really. But what I'll do is I'll put it. I'll play piano to a scene and I'll put it in a loop. Basically, the scene kind of repeats. No tempo, no click track, no nothing. That's another way I do it. And basically what I do is the scene's 30 seconds long. So I give a few beats before and a few beats after just so I can get ready to loop it. And then when I start playing that scene, if that's 30 seconds long, I'll just start playing piano very badly, and I know very badly. But then it plays a second time. And then I stay badly. And by the fifth time, I start doing something at second 17 that keeps happening around second 17. By the 10th time, there's something happening at 17 and 22. By the 20th time, there's something happened at 5, 17, 22. By the 30th time, there's all these tracks that are being created, right? 30 versions, right? There's now something happened at the beginning, 5, 17, 22, and 28. And by the 50th time, I stop. Usually, more or less, it's about 50 loops of 30 seconds. So there goes the time, right? And now I have something that kind of feels like a cue. And then I go, what tempo is this thing in? You know? And then I start building it backwards, like reverse engineering that version. That's another way I do this. And then from piano, I'll orchestrate it into the instruments that I want to hear, that I really want it to be. But I need to kind of get it in that way. Guitar has been very seldom that I've actually played guitar to picture, to try to time. I'll play guitar away to get a melodic idea, and I'll play piano away to get a melodic idea. But then I'll sing a lot. But it's kind of, those are the ways. It's like, and sometimes if it's a chase sequence or an action, I'll try to find the tempo. That's the third way. That's like, I find the tempo that feels right, and I'll just start messing around, boom, boom, and then do that thing we were talking about. Sorry, yeah.
And I know there's one more.
Yes.
Yes.
I know like not everybody's gonna have like that like experience that you had with like the whole Scott Frank and he just like randomly hit you up for like a guitar lesson.
Yes.
So like as like a like advice for like emerging composers,
yeah.
How do you get out of like the metaphorical cave and like are able to like put yourself out there? And like
the Miami Film Lab. No.
Yeah, no, seriously. First of all, look at locally what's happening. Look for filmmakers locally that are making things. Look for all the opportunities that are happening locally. But we are also connected online. And you can reach out and watch people that are putting their stuff, and filmmakers are making their website and showing their work that you can actually try to find. But the other option that happens a lot is by a lot of the composers don't have this version of the story. First of all, every story is so unique. Everybody I've met that's done well is a lot of serendipity. They met the cousin of a friend of a brother or whatever, and then they called them and they came to help, but then all of a sudden it's insane. It's true. It's not like there is no straight line, first of all. It's very jagged and crooked. And then I will say that a lot of them come in through being assistants to other people, right? Assisting. You can assist remotely too, by the way, which is my team's in LA. Like all of them, they live in Los Angeles. So because it's all digital, right? We make a file and you have access to the file on Dropbox or whatever, and you upload something and I upload it, we make sure. But a lot of the composers come, like Hans Zimmer is an example of a person who's done really well. And then he created a team, has a team of people, but then has a team of people that constantly evolves. And a lot of the people that have come from the Hans Zimmer thing where they were assisting him became Ramin Djawadi, Game of Thrones guy, right? I mean, one of the really, really big names. Junkie XL, who also did the second Superman and stuff. David Fleming, who's doing the new Superman, and also Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and did Damsel, and is an amazing, I mean, I think the score for Damsel is one of the coolest scores I've heard in years, and didn't do that well. It was a Millie Bobby Brown movie that came out on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. Movies maybe not great, but the score is like, what? Like, craft-wise, brilliant. And there are so many people that have come from the Hans Zimmer experience alone that have, because there is that aspect. It's apprenticeship, I guess is a word.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of way you can seek out to kind of establish yourself, because that's how a lot of them do it. A lot of them actually do it. Yeah.
And Miami Film
point,
Lab.
Your bio says you're a protege of Randy Newman. What's that story?
Okay, so
That's a question I wanted to ask. Thank you.
So Randy, so I was at USC and I had the dream die with the rock and roll band. They dropped us and all that. And I was driving gear for bands, and then I came back to USC to get my doctoral degree, and the USC had a board of advisors, right, the Thornton School. Randy Newman was on the board, and they had this mentorship program that started at USC where they were pairing students with people on the board. And they asked me to, they didn't ask me, they put up, hey, you want to apply to be on the board? And I said, I want a Randy Newman. But who are you kidding? But they picked me because I had been in a rock band and I was doing classical music at the time. And because he was like a pop songwriter who did fantastically well and then was doing films like the ones he was doing, they paired me. And so he sent me an email and I showed it to my wife. It's like, another cry moment thing. And I was like, oh my God. And then he's like, pleased to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And I went to his house, and I was like, oh my God, you know. So I had this really crazy experience where I got to meet him, and then he started inviting me to sessions. And I learned the pecking order, by the way. Last story on the side is that I went to Princess and the Frog, that movie, Disney movie. I went to that session. He goes, oh, come on down to the I can't impersonate him. But he goes, come on down to the session. So I get into the session, and I see Randy Newman. There's two directors, and this really cool song, New Orleans, down in New Orleans or whatever, and this cue's playing, and then the cue ends, and then the directors behind them are like, you know, there's something about the drums or something, and I'm like, dude, that's Randy Newman. What do you mean? What are you talking? Nothing's wrong with this. Is brilliant, you know? And I'm like quietly in the back going, I can't believe it's happening. And Randy turns around, and I think he's going to berate them because he's like a very strong character. He's like a personality. He's really strong. He turns around and he goes, yeah, I think we should. I think we could do some things. Let me go in the room and see what I can do. And I'm like, oh, he's working for them. Like this weird realization that really affected me, because when I started having issues with like anybody telling me that wasn't working, I was like, oh yeah, Randy Newman, I should definitely make the change, you know? So yeah, that's the short of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
And on that lovely story, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. That was awesome.